Hello, it's ready to go according to Pukraj. So I have been given a sort of flow of how things will go from Pukraj. I'll bear in mind that I've just come back from Hong Kong, so I may go off on a few little mazy runs and come off script there, Pukraj. So she has asked me to introduce myself. My name is Bryn Llewellyn. I am the director of HundrED and one of the co-directors of Move and Learn. Pukraj has asked me to say why I'm excited about doing this presentation. I would say there's a bit of excitement, obviously, but also a bit of apprehension and nervousness, so bear with me. So why am I excited? I love doing what I do, basically. I love the fact that I make a real difference, or intend to make a real difference in the world of education and health. And as being part of the global community that is HundrED, it means that we get to share and learn together. We get to support each other, and it also means that we can do a little bit of provocation as well. I also love the fact that I'm able to bring practitioners and researchers together, break them out of their proverbial silos and make a real difference to the lives of young children. So the theme for the month is catering to the whole child. So as I go through the presentation, I'm hopefully going to be able to explain how Tag2Fate fits into that remit. So a little bit about myself. Those of you who, friends and family from many, many years ago, will know that I wasn't the best student in the world. The only reason why I went to school, or one of the main reasons, was to hang around with my mates on the playground and play football at playtime and lunchtime. Ironically, I became a teacher, and the reason why I became a teacher was to try to change the world. I'd done a degree in environmental studies, and it was definitely a case of I wanted to do something about education about the environment, through the environment and for the environment. Then I realized I couldn't do all this on my own, so I decided best way to do it is through education, became a teacher. And as a male in a primary school, an elementary school, the expectation is that you will become the PE lead, also that you will be getting onto the leadership team fairly quickly. So that's what I did. I became a deputy head teacher, acting head teacher in various elementary schools in the UK. After a while, well, during the process of teaching, I realized, well, as we all know, that schools are incredibly busy places, relentless pressures to increase standards. But in amongst this, we've got this great problem in terms of health and well-being of primary children, which is, it is on the decline. So a lot of this is down to the fact that in the UK, we've got a very, very narrow curriculum. It's all about testing and accountability. And many schools are just purely driven by data. For many children in primary schools, elementary schools, they have a sole diet of English and mathematics. And we've got many teachers leaving the profession, sadly. As I say, the impact is on emotional and physical well-being. And I think the situation can be best summed up by Michael Rosen. I keep on banging on about Michael Rosen, but he is a bit of a legend in the world of education. So he's got this gorgeous poem here. Just trying to get it up there. I'll let you read that for yourself. But the idea is that children are beginning to learn only what can be turned into data. So with this in mind, we've got issues there with education. But it's not just about education, it's also about health. A third of children aged 2 to 15 are classed as overweight or obese. Younger generations are becoming obese younger and staying obese for longer. It tends to be the economically deprived areas where the obesity rates are the highest, and this is getting worse. And then if you look in terms of the financial costs, NHS in the UK spends something like £6 billion per annum on overweight and obesity related ill health. Imagine what we could do with that in education, 6 billion. In the UK, we've gone through huge austerity measures, but with 6 billion, we could do such magic in terms of prevention is certainly better than cure. So the sitting down element, I mean, like the physical inactivity elements, it's been proven that physical inactivity and sitting down leads to heart disease, cancers, strokes, and type 2 diabetes. Not only that, it's also linked to stress and depression and anxiety, not necessarily in later life, but I'm sure we've all got children on our radar at the moment with showing signs of stress, depression, and anxiety. When you look at some of the studies, so we've got South Australia University, they came up with a study comparing a 12-year-old now to a 12-year-old in the 70s, in other words, myself. So a 12-year-old in the 70s, if we were to run 4 times around the running track, 4 times running around the running track, 12-year-old me in the 70s would finish a whole lap ahead of 12-year-old now, which was pretty scary. So globally, we've got at least 50% of children are insufficiently active. And this rate grows in terms of certain westernized countries. The studies show that physical activity levels decline at age 7. Ironically, this coincides with the start of Key Stage 2 in primary school. So school lessons tend to be the most inactive times in a child's day, with minimal opportunities for physical activity. So if the children are sitting down all the time, okay, are we not like making things worse? Are we not making this health trajectory worse and worse? And what's the result? We're in the middle of an obesity crisis. We're in the middle of a mental health epidemic, and both of which are detrimental to academic performance. So what's the solution? Could it be physically active learning? Well, in the UK, we've got something that came out a couple of years ago called the Childhood Obesity Plan of Action. And in it, the Chief Medical Officer recommends that we go for 60 minutes of MVPA. So MVPA is moderate to vigorous physical activity. So the idea is that we want our children, primary age children, elementary age children, to be physically active for an hour every day. The Chief Medical Officer breaks this down in terms of PE, obviously, active break times and active recesses. But she also talks about the fact that there is space for active learning. So we know that physical activity has benefits. It's linked to health benefits in terms of improved muscle development and bone growth. It's linked to better sleep patterns, etc. But it's also linked to improved academic performance. So this is where the Tactivate program comes in. And what happens is we've got the Chief Medical Officer talking about these things, and she's also saying that it's about collaboration. And she says that true change will only come about through connections between schools and communities and families and individuals and organizations. So as I said, like the Tactivate program is kind of cool, but you've got to surround yourself with good people. So I've joined forces with a head teacher in Leeds. So we've got Ian from Thorner Primary School. We've got Rich Ullman from Malton Primary School in North Yorkshire. So we're talking about this concept of moving and learning, or moving then learning. So we're talking about different approaches using different resources in different environments. So what does it look like? Well, hopefully we'll be able to explain that in a few moments. I will share some slides and images at the back of this so you can see some of the things that we have been doing with schools in the UK. So what we're trying to do is to teach English and mathematics, because they're the subjects that are tested, but teaching them and developing them through physical activity. And obviously we can't do this on our own, so we have to train the teachers. And this is where the Tactivate program and Move and Learn kicks in terms of getting the teachers to be more confident and competent in delivering physical activity. So we've now got 65,000 children and teachers on board in the UK. We've got a couple of schools on board in terms of in France and Australia, Northern Ireland and Ireland. We've got Finnish school on board now, which is cool. We've got South Korean school coming on board in January. And I think some of it is down to the fact that we've got research that demonstrates impact. Okay, so the games are gorgeous. I mean, like I used to be a teacher, so I know what works. I know what doesn't work as well. So the Tactivate program works with early years foundation stage. It works with mathematics, and we've got some of the building blocks here. So if you can imagine that we've got the red tags here. These are the even numbers. We've got the yellow tags here, which are the odd numbers, and we can blend them, we can mix them, we can match them, we can get children to look in terms of column method addition or subtraction, we can multiply them. There's like infinite ways of teaching the mathematics. Some of the children are just absolutely gorgeous when it comes in terms of how do they demonstrate their findings and show their findings. So as I say, we've got the maths program, which has been on the way for a good couple of years now. We've also got a word version, so we're teaching the children how to develop spelling and punctuation and grammar with these gorgeous tags, which are, as I say, hopefully you might be able to see that. So we've got move, and we've got and, okay, and we've got learn here as well, because this is where the magic happens, okay, the movement and the learning. Not only that, the teachers get a pack, and they get to play with the resources and everything else, and a starter pack with activity cards. But we're finding that the best games come from the children. So we get children in London getting really excited by the fact that their games are being played by children elsewhere in the UK and abroad. And some of the games are just bonkers, but they do work. And in terms of getting the children on board. So when we first started the program, we had like children just with smiles on their faces and coming out with one classic quote after another, such as a girl, Bella, in Waterton Primary School in Leeds. I always remember her just saying, like, with Tactivate, or with Tactivate Active Learning, you never get a chance to get bored, you never get a chance to zone out, which is kind of cool. And there's a researcher at Leeds Beckett University, Dr. Tom Cornby, and he asks the teachers to get their children to draw what learning looks like. And perhaps you could do this as well. But if you ask your children to draw what learning looks like, most of the time they will draw pictures of children sitting down with books open, either reading or writing. And then if you drill down further, a lot of these images will have pictures of clocks on the wall as well. And you've got to think, why does a clock feature in a child's perception of learning? Is it because the teachers are really cruel and horrible and saying, come on, get a move on, you've only got 5 minutes to finish? Or is it because the children are looking at the clock thinking, God, can't wait until playtime, can't wait until lunchtime, how long till the end of the day? So there's one quote, Coralina quote that I often put out there at the end of the maths lesson. It says, Coralina, did you enjoy that maths lesson? And Coralina was like, what, maths? I thought it was PE. Another anecdote from a school in Keighley in West Yorkshire, and it was a little lad called Cian, and he just said, that game was awesome. That game was awesome. Takes a lot to get me to do maths. And it's about, getting those reluctant learners engaged. And it's also about, when we work with the teachers, we find that the comments from the teachers are absolutely amazing in terms of when we're co-delivering a session, the teacher might often say, well, I didn't know we could do that. And you say, well, why not? And he'll say, well, he's never put his hand up in the maths lesson, or he's never written in his maths book, but something magical has just happened there. And I always talk about two boys, Jack and Lewis, up in Durham, and they played the game, and they'd seen patterns in these numbers that I've never noticed before. And in my excitement, I went back to their year 6 teacher and explained what I'd seen, and his reaction was like, Jack, Lewis, no way. They hate mathematics. So it is about engaging those reluctant learners. And you reach a point and you realise that yeah, we've got the anecdotes, and yes, we've got the smiles, but also we need the evidence. And I think this is why the program's growing in success. So Leeds Beckett University and Dr. Andy Daly-Smith, or soon to be Dr. Andy Daly-Smith, did some real in-depth research with a team of 10 10 students, and they drilled down and they worked out that the children in the physically active session were certainly more active, and there was more time spent in terms of moderate to vigorous physical activity and far less time sitting down. But it was the impact on academic performance that was fascinating. In terms of the children who were physically active in the math session, their performances increased in terms of speed and accuracy in maths. Now, we're not saying they were like massive changes, because that would be wrong. It would be misleading to teachers and schools. But it's these minimal gains. If they happen repeatedly, they soon become substantial gains. And then when the research team drilled down further, they realized that it was the children who were deemed the less academic who made the most growth in terms of progress, in terms of speed and accuracy. And as well as that, they looked in terms of attention and concentration. So using Stroup testing, they realized that the children who took part in the physically active session compared to the sitting down session were in a better state of mind to then take part in the subsequent lesson. So the research was sent off to Nesta. Nesta gave it level 5, which is the highest level that Nesta can award. Tactivate was one of only 9 organisations to get that award last year, which was crucial in terms of proving impact. We were then asked to do a TEDx talk, sorry, and Andy and myself did the talk. I would like to think that maybe we had a little bit of sway there in terms of changing direction. So the National Association of Head Teachers, they looked at the research, and there was a motion proposal at National Conference, and 9 out of 10 members of the National Association of Head Teachers voted to signpost their members towards physically active learning solutions to help their members forward. We've got the Ofsted framework changing in the UK in 2019, and Amanda Spielman has recently been in the press saying that she wants schools to move away from the emphasis and focus on English and maths only, and look at those creative subjects such as arts, and also the sciences, and also looking at the physical activity. So secretly, I kind of think that Amanda saw that TEDx talk and changed the way we might be moving forward. So how do we move forward? We need to link up to other people. The BBC and the Premier League have got what's called super movers, which is online video content, because obviously the Tactivate program's cool, but you can't do it all the time. And we've got to have other physically active learning resources out there. So the super movers content's really good in terms of getting children to move and dance and learn their different areas of mathematics and science and English and other subjects too. So we've partnered up with them, and also doing some writing for them with their live lessons. So we're trusted by the pioneering teachers, which is great. The games are loved by the children. We've got the level 5 research award from Nesta, and we're recognised partners. And where do we go next? Well, we want to work and play. Yeah, this is what it's about. We want to work and play with more teachers, more children. We want to get more children more active more often. We want to connect researchers and practitioners, which will in effect not only impact on standards, but it'll also lower levels of inactivity and obesity. So how can we move it forward? It would be great to get Tactivate in as many different cities, towns, villages, in as many different countries as possible, and hopefully the HundrED community can help that. We're also looking at ways of franchising the Tactivate program, and getting trainers who are training the teacher accreditation program. We also want hub schools to cascade the information at a local level. Can we do this on our own? Probably not, because of the lack of money in education in the UK for sure. So if there's any edtech companies out there who want to power Tactivate in a certain way, Tactivate powered by XYZ, and this will maybe offset your digital bumprint. Let's see if that happens. So there's scope there in terms of doing some co-marketing, co-branding, etc. And as I say, it's about partnering up and working together. So Pukraj has said about in terms of how can we work together. This book from the HundrED Summit has to be the go-to one for this year. She's asked me to name three people, honestly, Pukraj, three. It's kind of difficult. There's so many in there. I'll give a shout out to Challenge 59. They're also based in the UK, and I think they're absolutely sweet in terms of what their ethos is about and how they work with children. Who else would I like to big up? Chatter, another UK organisation. Why? Because it was formed by Chris Williams, who, funnily enough, went to the same university as I did the same course as I did, albeit a few years after me. But it's nice that we've got so many organisations within the HundrED community who are involved in terms of environmental awareness and global awareness, which is kind of cute. So I'll big up Chatter. Tricks and Tracks, I love to bits. I'll give a special mention to Sepio, because they seem to follow me wherever I go. So we were there in Hong Kong together with Tero, and before that I've hooked up with Riku online via Skype, etc. If you want to reach out, there's the HundrED community platform and Tagtivator on there. We're also on social media in terms of Facebook and Twitter, etc., etc. I would like to say that next week we're going to have somebody else from the HundrED community talking about their innovation and why it impacts in terms of the bigger picture rather than just the data. However, it's Christmas next week, and everybody else will be probably celebrating with parties and family gatherings, etc. So there won't be anybody next week. I'm sure there'll be somebody somewhere in the not too far distant future. So go to HundrED.org, check out those organisations. As I said, they're there for 2019, and not only that, they're going to be there for a lot longer. And with your support, we'll grow together, we'll move forward together, we'll learn together, and hopefully we'll make a massive difference. So thanks. I'm going to sign off now. Pukraj did say 20 minutes-ish. I'm 2 minutes over, so apologies for that. Thank you for joining in. Any questions, just add them later on, and I'll send a link to the presentation in due course. Okay, take care now. Enjoy Christmas, and all the best for 2019. Bye.